Okay, we're back. Part two, respirations. This is where we left off. We're gonna keep going. I want to be cognizant of your time and not waste your time because I know time is precious. Okay, so that's the basics. That's the Teachable C doctrinal stuff. You know all that. You've learned it. Great. We saw Green Beret George Clooney save Mark Wahlberg. Ice Cube freaking sat there, didn't do anything. But now we're moving on to some more interesting stuff, in my opinion. Okay, finger thoracostomy. If anybody's ever heard of that, this is finger thoracostomy, an alternative to needle decompression device. This is not currently in Teachable C guidelines. It's not in the guideline, but like if you go deeper and you look at some of there's a section in the Teachable C guidelines that talk about revisions, and when they did revisions, in the revision that goes over all the needle decompression stuff, it talks about, hey, with advanced training, you can do finger thoracostomy, but like in the actual guidelines, it doesn't really like talk about it. But I think we should talk about it, and I have like a million awesome reasons why we should talk about it. This is the main reason why you should talk about it. If the condition you're treating is fatal, the treatment should be 100% effective, or else the person literally dies. And unfortunately, needle decompression is bad. It's not that effective. And so I think you should train people. If we're going to pretend to treat people for saving lives, we should actually give them the tools to save lives. So needle decompression is not 100% effective. Finger thoracostomy is much closer to 100% effective for treating tension pneumothorax. This does require training, approval, confidence of your medical director or superior personnel, blah, 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 bosses. Everybody got a boss, even me. Here's my personal thoughts. If your tension pneumothorax is on the differential, meaning you are thinking as the person is dying in front of you, that tension pneumothorax could be a problem, you do not pronounce them dead until the chest is decompressed on both sides. As the rule in trauma, you can now pronounce them deceased with a clean conscience because you have hopefully solved the three most common causes of death: airway obstruction, massive hemorrhage, and the tension pneumothorax. Don't pronounce them until you check their chest. All right, YouTube video. This one's great. This one, the actors are less good or whatever, but it's technically more educational. Okay, I'm going to talk through this because this guy's annoying, and I know just as much him. So these are cadavers, okay? This is cadaver training. They want you to clean the chest. Then they want you to take your scalpel, and they're going to go in this is anterior axillary line. This is like mid-axillary line. They want you to make a 1-inch incision. I think they say like 3 centimeters or whatever. You're going to blunt dissect with your finger, which means you're going to take your little finger and you're going to stick in there. That was a little baby incision. This person is a really skinny dead person, so fine. The person you may be doing is potentially much stronger, big, thick, soft operator, or unfortunately super fat pogue from the rear echelon, who knows, but potentially a bigger person. So don't be afraid to make a little bit deeper cut, right? They're freaking dying, all right? You can stitch the cut closed. Not a big deal. Don't cause a lung injury. Don't cause a cardiac injury, but you can make a bigger cut than that. Okay. Then they're going to take these Kellys, big clampy things, because I'm not a surgeon. Surgeons rolling over in their grave, me calling them the clampy things. You could also take a hemostat, which would be much smaller clampy things. And you're going to penetrate into the chest. He's holding it like a goof. How I hold them, I'm going to get real close. So this is the Kelly. Okay, I put my finger here, and I make this, an inch or two, and I just lean with it, and my finger is the speed bump or the stop button or the gate guard or whatever. So you're going to poke through. If the person's dying, you could also just use your scalpel to do most of this. Until you poke through the pleura and you will feel a release, okay? And then you'll take both hands. Again, he's doing underhand grip, weird, but, fine. Open them, and you'll be a bunch of blood and air will come out, okay? And then I'm going to fast forward this. He's, like, futzing around with that for a while. He's like, oh, my God, I'm not sure I'm in. I'm messing around. I don't really know. I'm scared. And then after that, take your finger, put it in that hole. And I want you to know that you're in. The only way I want you to know that you're in is you're going to do this, because this is your safety, right? Eric Bana said that. When you stick your finger in, you're going to hook on that rib above, and you're going to go like this, and you're going to go all the way around, and you are literally going to feel that you are on the inside of the chest because you can't hook any closer. If you're on subcutaneous muscle or subcutaneous fat, your finger will come out. If you are inside their chest cavity, you will not come out, and you will be in there, okay? So I want you to go around, and that's how you know you're in the chest. I've seen people come into the emergency department in cardiac arrest who've said they've had finger thoracostomies done in the field. They did not have finger thoracostomies done. They just had holes in their chest that did not go into the thoracic cavity. If you're going to do it right. Go all the way in, and you know you're in when your finger is on the other side of their chest wall. I think this is it. I think this is all I really want you to know. He like futzes around in there and talks. Apply a chest seal, fine, whatever. Who cares, dude? Like, we're here to save tension. They have tension for a reason. So yes, classically you would say apply a chest seal after that. But if you apply a chest seal, watch out. You know you're possibly creating a scenario where tension could return. Okay, so I left that YouTube video on there. It's educational. It is good. He narrates the whole thing. His narration is much less, I don't know, disrespectful than mine, I should say. All right, are we good at this? We're in the lit review section, everybody. Everybody loves Journal Club, but it's not exactly fun. We need to know if when we're going to do something, I'm going to save them with the needle D. I can't wait. And then you don't save them with the needle D. That's going to cause trauma. That's going to cause residue, would be probably a better word than trauma. That's going to cause residue because your expectations of I'm going to flip and save them and the outcome of I didn't flip and save them are not congruent. They're not aligned. But if you go in knowing a lot of stuff about the limitations of your equipment and the limitations of your skills and the realities of their injury or whatever, their probability of living or dying are X, and then your outcome is Y, you can change your approach or you can understand why they didn't live, okay? So, does needle decompression work? Is this thing that the guidelines of tactical combat casualty care say we should do, does it work? Don't be surprised. No, not really. Like most things in medicine, it's based on bad data, dude. Like, it's just bad. It's unacceptable failure rate. A totally unacceptable failure rate. Failure rate somewhere. Every single flipping paper that I read, I got numb reading them all. Failure rate between 30 and 70%. That's bad, dude. Like, that's just super bad. That's worse than the other data we've looked at. So I would argue needle decompression has a very poor success rate. Again, remind you, for a pathophysiology that is 100% fatal, right? We're saying tension physiology is 100% fatal. Or tension pneumothorax, I should say. Not all tension physiology. Okay, here's a bunch of papers. The question is, why don't they work? Good question. They should work, at least from a, like, on paper deal. Here's this paper. It's in this journal called Injury. Literally never heard of that, but I found this paper. Daniel Lon, apologies. They should work, okay? Here's why. They're 3.25 inches long. That's 82 millimeters long, okay? The average skin to the pleural cavity distance is less than 82.55 millimeters. So they should at least work from a distance issue. You should be able to get from outside their body to inside their body with this thing. Okay? All right, so they work from a mechanical thing, a mechanical issue, a distance issue. All right, but do they actually relieve the tension physiology, the too much air in the chest smushing on their other chest things problem? Do they relieve that air? Don't worry, I have a paper for that. This paper's kind of old, 2016, but right in the height of the war, or right at the end of the war, so, you know. This one, much bigger paper, Journal of Trauma and Acute Care Surgery. We've referenced them 5 million times. Matthew Martin, MD, no idea who that is, but I like this paper. Pig study, everybody, sad pigs. Pigs donate their life for you so you can save people or whatever. This was actually a really cool study. It was so cool that it got published in a big journal like this that usually publishes human papers. But pig study, what they did is they induced tension pneumothorax in pigs, and they tested needle decompression versus chest tube placement. The initial part of placing a chest tube is a finger thoracostomy, essentially. So we're going to replace this word chest tube with finger thoracostomy in my mind. Okay. If you ever go to ground surgical team training, or if you ever go to EMEDS, I don't know if they do it in EMEDS, but they do it in ground surgical team training. At least they used to when I went to it. They induced the tension pneumo, which was pretty dope. Okay. 25% of the needle decompressions had an immediate mechanical failure after removing the needle. Basically, either the catheter came out or the catheter kinked or something happened, but as soon as the rigidity of the needle came out, the catheter stopped working immediately. 1/4. Okay. Overall failure rate to relieve tension pneumothorax, 58%, which, like we said, is close to this failure rate. It's on the high end of this, or the middle range, I should say, of this failure rate. But 58%, that's bad to relieve tension pneumothorax. They got in the chest, but it didn't relieve the tension. Okay, that's literally the only job. The job is not to poke a hole in them. The job is to relieve tension pneumothorax. So that's bad. 60% failure. Chest tube, on the other hand, 100%. 100% of the time when they put a chest tube in, it relieved tension pneumo. This wasn't that many pigs. I think it was like 30-something pigs, but it doesn't matter. This makes sense. This makes more sense. I put a garden hose inside your chest. That relieved the pressure versus I took a little baby thimble worth of angiocatheter and put it in your chest. That didn't relieve the tension. All right. Is needle decompression dangerous? All right. 2 studies. This one, Journal of Investigative Medicine, high impact case reports. This sounds like a journal that nobody publishes in, but I found a good case report there, 2 actually. And then this bottom one, the American Surgeon. I'm not a surgeon, so I don't care, so I don't read their stuff. But there are some big hitters on here. Richard Lesperance, bottom left, former Green Beret, current trauma surgeon. Don't know who that guy is. Second guy, Timothy Nunez, currently the trauma chief at Brooke Army Medical Center, the DoD's only level 1 trauma center. So these 2 at least knew what they're talking about. Is needle decompression dangerous? Probably, possibly, maybe. I read that backwards, but potentially. The current guidelines are for a 3.25-inch needle decompression device, which is 82.55, I think, millimeters, that's what we said. This is longer than 95% of chest wall thickness I, however you want to say the plural of thickness. So you should get in the chest, but the problem with that is using this 8-centimeter catheter, which is 80 millimeters, by the way, centimeters to millimeters, same thing, at the 5th intercostal space, anterior axillary line, iatrogenic cardiac injury, meaning the doctor hurt you, was at risk in almost half the patients, 42% of patients. So this article, this is the second article that we looked at. This statement is from this article, this American Surgeon article with Lesperance as the primary author. They did CT scans, basically, of dead people or people with pneumothorax on trauma. They did it retrospective. They looked at old data. And they basically measured it from the skin to the heart. And on the left side, they said you could stab them in the heart, basically, 42% of the time, if you follow the TCCC guidelines, which, as we recall, say to hub the catheter. Dude, watch out for that. Like, you hub that catheter, if you get bright red, pulsatile blood squirting out of that sucker, you're definitely in the chest, but you're probably actually in the left ventricle. So there's many documented injuries from needle decompression, but don't be too fearful. I want you to be knowledgeable, but not afraid of the world, right? Everybody knows you can get in a car wreck, but you still get in your car wreck, drive around every day. You could stab someone in the heart and hurt them. You could cause a vascular injury using a needle decompression device. You doggone it, you certainly could. That being said, the failure rate was way higher than the injury rate. So you're more likely to do absolutely nothing to them other than cause a boo-boo, other than cause a little owie, than you are to even relieve tension pneumo or hurt them, majorly requiring cardiac thoracic surgery. So I don't think you should not do a needle decompression because you could hurt them. We're doing needle decompression because they're dying of tension pneumothorax. So all contraindications are relative. If the person's dying of a tension pneumothorax, damn the risks, you need to save them. But just know it can cause problems. So you may want to think about not hubbing that left anterior axillary 5th intercostal space spear, North American Rescue Mondo spear, into a thin 19-year-old on the battlefield. Okay, maybe don't hub it all the way. All right. Save us, Dr. Rufus, save us. Sorry, let me flip through my doggone papers. Okay, what can we do about it? You've told us it doesn't work. The thing we're supposed to do works. You told us it's shit, and you told us it could also hurt people and stab people and make them bleed more of their blood by pumping them, by stabbing them in the heart. So what can we do? How can we save them? All right, well, don't worry. This person, Angelo, oh God, Ciarlingia, MD at UT Health Science Center, near and dear to my heart in my city of San Antonio. They've studied this. They studied, this is EMS, certainly, but this is the same thing. This is what you're doing. Finger thoracostomy versus needle thoracostomy or needle decompression. That's the same thing. Performed by ground emergency medical services. So ground EMS did finger thoracostomy versus needle decompression. What did they find? You can tell this when somebody messes with you. I do my own research. The titles are mostly for me, and the memes that are in these presentations, they're mostly for me, because I get, I'm human. I get tired making them. This study compared 34 patients, not that many people, but hey, I'll take what we can get. 34 people who underwent finger thoracostomy versus needle decompression in the field in San Antonio, Texas. All 15 finger thoracostomy people had cardiac arrest prior to the procedure. That's bad randomization. That means they were way more sick, but we'll take it for what it is. 1/5 of those people, 20%, got ROSC from that. Was it from that? Was it from blood? Who knows? But they got ROSC, okay? So 1/5 of the 15 people. 9 of 16 people who had a needle decompression device used had cardiac arrest. 2/3 of those people got ROSC. That's basically 2 of them got ROSC. What this tells you, it doesn't tell you that the needle decompression was better. It tells you that the needle decompression people were less sick. Dude, they were way less sick. Less than half of them were dead. In the finger thoracostomy group, all of them were dead. So this is literally the people we're talking about, potentially tension pneumothorax people. They were all dead of their tensionness, and it's postulated that the finger thoracostomy could be the cause of their ROSC, or return of spontaneous circulation. They got pulses back. Okay. Successful intrathoracic decompression. This is what we're really talking about. Inside their chest, you fixed the tension. With the finger thoracostomy, it was 93%. So that's maybe like 1 that didn't get it. I don't know math. I'm not good at math, but I think that's going to be like 1. 1 out of 15 is probably 7%. 1 didn't achieve decompression with finger thoracostomy. With the needle decompression, less than half. Less than half. So less than half of those 19 people that got needle decompressed didn't even get decompressed. So I would argue the 2/3 of the people who had ROSC that were in cardiac arrest probably didn't even have that because of the needle decompression. Maybe half of them had it because of the needle decompression. So who knows? But they probably got saved from something else. This is pretty damning evidence. Finger thoracostomy is just so much more superior for tension physiology than needle decompression. Bummer, there's no difference in overall mortality, so obviously the people were super sick, right? The people who got 15 finger thoracostomies, they were literally dead, dude. So they were super sick, they continued on to be mostly dead, they probably died later, so there's no difference overall in mortality, but, we're not necessarily talking about mortality, we're talking about results of finger decompression. If you're going to give them a chance to survive, you have to fix the tension pneumothorax. So if you extrapolate this out to 1,000 people, maybe there is a mortality difference. But this freaking paper only had 34 people, so I can't do anything about that. I didn't participate. I should go around stabbing more people in San Antonio. Maybe we can get a bigger paper. Okay, this is almost the end. We're on the last slide. Final thoughts. Thank you for sticking with me. We're at 18 minutes. We're going to finish right on time. R in March covers the 3rd most common cause of preventable death on the battlefield. Tension pneumothorax mainly. There are other things in R, like bagging them, like NPA, like putting them on pulse ox. Frankly, I care less about those, but they are important. They are part of the basics. The 3rd most common cause of preventable death on the battlefield is not a large number percentage-wise, but the pathophysiology of tension pneumothorax is a fatal problem. So it needs to be fixed, needs to be addressed, cannot be overlooked. Okay? No one dies on the battlefield without decompressing both sides of the chest. No one dies on the battlefield without decompressing both sides of the chest. No one dies on the battlefield without decompressing both sides of the chest. Remember that forever. Okay? Needle decompression is fraught with error and high failure rates. Finger thoracostomy is probably better. It will require more training. It will require more experience. And it will require confidence for you to do appropriately and effectively. Challenge your medical directors. Push for this procedure. Explain why you shouldn't do the needle decompression and why you should do the finger thoracostomy. And you will potentially save a life one day because of that. Always prepare for a bad day. Don't assume that every patient's just going to be easy, because one day in your career you'll find the bad one. Thank you guys for participating with me. I think the videos are better when you watch them on the video versus on audio, but I'll take what I can get. Hope everybody has a really safe Christmas, awesome Christmas. I'll see you back in January. January will be whatever comes after R. So circulation will be January. I'll work on that over the break. And I think we're going to get some really good stuff going. I'm really enjoying making the videos. I hope you guys like them. They're a lot of work, but I filmed them like a psychopath in my backyard, totally alone. But I think that they're valuable. I think we can really put this to good use and create a way where we're training all the time at what I consider to be relatively minimal effort, just sitting back and watching them while you're making dinner for your kids or whatever. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. Have a safe, happy Christmas. Thanks.